Alrighty then, folks. Welcome to the very fourth episode of the Wandering Thoughts podcast. I'm your host, Joseph Samieta Jr., and I normally post every week, but the past 2 weeks have been kind of cool and kind of crazy. 2 weeks ago, my family was home, so there was no silence. Couldn't do a podcast then. And then last week, I was on Ben's Learning Lounge, and we were talking about depression and mental health. So when that's out, I cannot wait to share it with you because we had such great conversations, and it reminded me of why I wanted to do this podcast. I just want to sit down and I want to talk with people and get their perspective on things, whether it's COVID, whether it's politics, whether it's mental health, whether it's physical exercise, whether it's nature, whatever it is. Just like sit down and talk with them about what they love and get their perspective on it, and maybe learn something in the process. So if I consider this a formal invitation that if you have a podcast or would like to be on a podcast and you've got a brain and you've got some examples of work, because I don't just want to have nobody on the podcast. And that sounds wrong. I don't want to have people on the podcast who I can't verify have a brain behind what they're talking about. But if you do, feel free to shoot me an email at photographyandstuffjunior@gmail.com. That's photographyandstuffjunior@gmail.com. I'll just put that email in the description of everything so that you don't have to try and remember it. Today I wanted to talk about routine, specifically routine when you're depressed and whatnot, and maybe outside of depression too, but specifically because I'm going through a rough patch right now, and I'm not going to deny that. But what I've found is not only just in my research, but in my life right now, what I'm lacking most and what I desire most, oddly enough, is routine and structure in my life. And so that's got me thinking, like, how important is that? Like, really, how important is routine and structure in life, and how much does it go to staving off excess stress and anxiety and depression, and how much does it go to leading towards a better life? Jocko Willink very often says discipline, I'm paraphrasing because I can't really remember, but it's like discipline leads to freedom. I swear if that's his exact words, I'm going to be a little upset with myself. But he often goes with that as being the words he says. It's on his shirts. It's what he says a lot. And I used to kind of laugh and scoff at that because I'd be like, well, if I go to bed at this time and get up at this time and do school at this time and have this, that, and the other thing, these projects going on at these times, then my life is going to suck because I can't do whatever I want whenever I want. What I found over the past year, and I don't want to say thanks to the pandemic, because it wasn't thanks to the pandemic, and it wasn't thanks to the lockdowns either. But over the past year, I found my happiest moments, my moments of greatest clarity, and when I felt my best and ready to take on the world was when I had structure. You know, when I was going to bed at 10, between 10 and 11, when I was getting up no later than 7:30, and then oftentimes after, I think it was after 2-3 weeks, I was getting up earlier and earlier. I was just waking up. I was ready to be up. Then I'd get up. I'd take care of my devotions. I spent time with God. And then I would, that sounds really legalistic. Like I got up and I took care of my devotions and it was done and I was done with God for the rest of the day. No, that was not how it went. But I got up. I would spend time with the God. The God. I spent time with God, and then I would go and do chores, and I'd do some schoolwork. And then by the middle of the day, not even, by 12 o'clock in the afternoon, maybe a little earlier, I'd be so bored. I would have nothing to do with myself because I'd be like, I don't have work. I've done all my chores. I have done my schoolwork. I technically could have done more, but it was one of those, I just felt a desire to work. And I was happy and full of energy, and I was going outside and going for a walk every day too. Even if it was at the end of the day, like 4 o'clock, instead of at the beginning, it was still so happy, right? And then I lost that because I started staying up late and playing video games with friends, which isn't a bad thing. Like if you do it once in a while, it's not a bad thing at all. And so I wanted to examine more closely, see if I could find some studies on why structure actually works to better your life, and why discipline, which as Ben said on the podcast last week, is the lost art. And I just want to see, like, how important is this structure to life? And I know it can't just be me. There's too many people I know who have structure and who have the best lives ever. Even if their structure is just they go to the gym every single day. Like if that's the structure they have, I can guarantee you, if you look deeper than that, you'll find other structure. I think that's why the most successful people have a schedule. And not just like a rigorous, gotta do this, gotta do this, gotta do this by this time. But at this time, I'm done. No more work. I'm going to spend time with the family. At this time, no more family. I love you guys, but I got to get work done. It's like, okay, great. I was reading an article on XLR Junkie. He's a composer. I think his name is Tom Hulkenberg. I don't think I'm pronouncing that right. But I was reading, and he was talking about what his schedule was like, and I was blown away. And then I was blown away even further by the statement that it was most composers are like this, and they go to bed around 10, and they get up at like 3 to 4 a.m., sometimes 5. And I'm like, what? How do you manage that? And I think the answer is, you have a goal in mind, and you know yourself. You know what works best for you. And then you don't let anything get in the way. So if you're a night owl, and I mean objectively a night owl, like that's when you have the most mental energy, it's when you have the most physical energy, it's when you get the most done, then you have to structure your life around that with the knowledge that you do have to get between 7 and 9 hours of sleep. Some people can get less, 100%. There's some weirdos out there, like Navy SEALs, who can get 5 hours of sleep, 3 hours of sleep, and are not affected at all. Those people are special, okay? Those are very special people. Most people need 7 to 9 hours of sleep. Maybe more, maybe less. And if you're a teenager, you might need 10 to 11. But I'm starting to question that, given teenagers don't have much structure, though, do they? Not outside of the school year. And in the school year, they're getting tortured by getting very little sleep and having to balance everything. But you have to know yourself, right? So if you don't know when you operate at your best, then how are you going to know when to do the most important things during the day? Like in the article, we were saying Tom. You know what? I shouldn't call him by his first name. I learned that in English. You should never call somebody by their first name unless you know them personally. I don't know the guy. So Mr. Hulkenberg, or Junkie, just start referring to him as Junkie. Oh, that would be terrible. He found that the best time for his creative spurts was early in the morning between 4 and 5 to 9 a.m. And then in the evening, so what he did was he structured his day around that. So he did his creative work, like his composing and whatnot, in the morning. Then he did business in the afternoon. And then he did more composing and whatnot in the evening. And then he settled in for a couple hours to relax, recline, watch a movie. And this isn't to pick apart his life at all. This is using it as an example. When you have structure, life tends to work better. There were a few articles I was reading before this that denoted the fact that, hey, when you have structure, it allows you to feel more productive, you're more relaxed, your brain has more clarity. And I think the reason for that is our brains are wired to have things to do and to do them at a certain time. There's a reason why we form habits, whether that habit is to brush our teeth 3 times a day or 2 times a day, whether that habit is to go to bed at this time or wake up at this time, whether our habit is to turn on the TV when we get home from work instead of take care of other things, whether our habit is to go to, I just said that, didn't I? I meant whether our habit is to make our bed when we wake up or not. Everything's a habit. It's just a matter of whether the habit's good for us or not. And I think it takes some serious internal looking to find a habit and cut it out. It's very hard. Like the habit, there are several habits I'm trying to form right now. If I'm being completely honest, sleep is number 1. Sleep, that beautiful sleep. I need 8 to 9 hours of sleep to feel rested. And then once I get that for several weeks in a row, I start to need less, which blows my mind. But I guess it just depends. I think people are chronically underslept. And so I think if we get good sleep, it works out. And yes, when you start to form a sleep schedule, there's some insomnia involved because your body has to get used to a new sleep schedule. If I go to bed at 10, I'm up until midnight with a very restless sleep. But when I do that for 2 weeks straight, after those 2 weeks, going to bed at 10 is the most natural thing in the world, and I'm tired by 9 o'clock. It's the best thing ever. To break out of a cycle, you got to pick one end and punch through. You got to pick one spot and punch through. There's no end in a circle, right? It's just going to keep going and going and going and going. The only way out is to punch your way out in one particular spot. Another thing I'm working on is food. I'm not going to say I'm underweight, but I kind of am. However, it's not just that I'm underweight. It's more so I hate eating. And so there are just times I just won't eat. And that kind of caught up to me in the past week. And it's kind of screwed with my mental health and my physical health. And so I realized, hey, if I want to have life, I need some freaking structure. So I made a plan. I'm not doing it alone either. That's another thing. There's no loners. I was once again discussing this with Ben last week. And what I read was everybody wants I love my memory right now because when you have a worse depression state and you're really tired, your memory just doesn't work. Stupid brain fog. I still have COVID brain fog too, which is not fun. But it's basically along the lines of whether Ben said it. No, Ben didn't say it. I read it somewhere. Or heard it somewhere. I heard it somewhere. Yeah, I heard it somewhere. Okay, I heard somewhere, I can't remember who, that we always look up to the people who, not just look up to, but we want to be the person in the movies who has no problem doing whatever the heck they want to do when they need to do it by themselves. They can take on an army and have no ill effects. That's not who people are. We need people, each other, to be successful in life. And so for the structure I'm trying to build in my life, I live at home. I live with my parents. I'm not that old, so don't worry about that. I'm not 30 years old living at home. I'm 18. There's no... I could move out. Got to get some things done first. All that to be said, so I turn to my parents. I'm like, hey, Mom, I know you're busy, but to the best of your ability, I need your help to keep on the schedule. Hey, I need your help to keep me accountable to make sure I'm at least eating these 6 food items a day. It's food meals. Food meals? Did I really just say food meals? Okay. These 3 meals and 3 snacks a day so that I can not just only gain weight, but so that I can have the energy to go and do things. If you're not sleeping and not eating, your brain takes a hit and your body takes a hit, and that's not good. And then I was like, okay, these are goals. My goals are to be a healthy person mentally and physically. And to get there, I need to have structure in my life. I need to have a sleep schedule. I need to have balanced computer time. I need to have a food schedule, even if it's just rigorous for like 4 weeks, 5 weeks, till it gets under my belt and becomes a habit again. I need to have a school schedule, even if it's just personal, so that I can get things done. I just need to have structure. And I think those few things right there alone make it so much easier to get things done. To be fair, I just started yesterday, so it's a work in progress. So let's see what some of these articles were saying. Let's start with a very lenient one that doesn't really come from a study perspective. Like, it's not a study that I have to go over and dissect. This is I think it's like a breakdown. It's from the Hackensack Meriden Health .org. Why routines are important for mental health is the URL. So that kind of, just goes into everything that's explaining what this... It kind of just explains what the heck this article is all about. Some of the simple routines they recommend for organizing a day includes wake up the same time every day. I've said that before, but I'm going to say it again, and I agree with it, which I got from Jordan Peterson, by the way. It's structure. Even if you could go to bed at 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock. It doesn't matter what time you go to bed. You have to wake up at the same time. Or you could flip it on its head and you have to go to bed at the same time. That, like I said before, that's what helped create a massive amount of structure. Because once you have your sleep, and like I said, people are chronically underslept. Once you have your sleep under control, oh my gosh, everything else it's a little bit easier to click into place because your body's not fighting against exhaustion. Shower as if you were going out. Bear in mind, a lot of these articles, for some stupid reason, are coming from a COVID-19 perspective. I say stupid because I feel like this should be something that should be discussed outside of COVID. It should be part of everybody's life. COVID just kind of exasperated everything. So shower as if you were going out. I'm going to be completely honest. I don't shower. In fact, I spend a lot of my time indoors, which isn't me. Like, I'm the type of person who goes outside and goes on a hike and enjoys nature and all that. I don't shower a lot, and I should. And once again, when I had, looking back, what was I doing? I didn't consider this consciously, but I was showering every other day, if not every day, as part of my schedule. And it worked. In part, I showered because I had nothing else to do and I wanted to do something, and it feels good to take a shower. But yeah, I 100% agree with showers. If you were going out, you need to act like your life is normal, even when it's not. I think that's the main key point here is no matter how messed up your life is, no matter how bad your health is, no matter how screwed up the world is, it's vitally important that your personal life be as structured and routine as possible in a way that makes your brain clearer, your body healthier, your mind happier, and your emotions easier to regulate. Without these things, without your body healthy and your mind healthy, you cannot take on a world, you cannot take on your health problems, you cannot take on your family and friend problems to the best of your ability in a way that clears things up and makes things better, even if it's just look at world with a little bit of gratitude in your heart. Dress for the day, even in casual and comfortable attire. I would say just get dressed like you're going out. Yeah. I mean, for me, that's throwing on a pair of jeans, or now it's getting warmer, a pair of shorts and a t-shirt. That's just me. I never did understand people who can wear PJs all day. Like, even when my mom years ago was like, yeah, you can have a PJ day today. Mostly for the sake of my siblings, because they, for some reason, really enjoy wearing PJs only. For me, no. I need to wear clothing. It has to be clothing that I will wear outside. And that's always a pair of shorts or a pair of jeans. Eat meals at regular times. So it's good to know that my need for a structured mealtime is not just a me thing. It is something that experts recommend. The word expert, that is an interesting word. Expert, we apply that label to somebody who's been studying something for a long time and has knowledge on it. But there are a lot of experts out there who aren't called experts. All right, moving on. I think that's definitely important. Even if you're just eating lunch at 12, a breakfast at 9, and a dinner at 6, that's a pretty darn good schedule. Or if you're one of those weird people who eats one giant meal a day and you eat at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, you still have a structure and you know when you're going to have it. And your body starts to work around that. Keep a daily schedule of exercise. Now that one's twofold. It's twofold because, yes, you need structure and consistency when you're working out. And two, I guess it's threefold because you need consistency when you're working out. And three, exercise. Oh, I've gone over this before. I talked with Ben about it. Without exercise, the brain does not function as well. You have a harder time remembering things. You are moodier. You're not as happy. And then physically, you lose muscle mass. But when you start hitting 40 and 50, sometimes even 30, I think, if you're not doing weightlifting, you're not building, I think was it weight? Weight training, there it is. You lose that muscle mass so quickly. And then your brain starts to go. So there are many good reasons. It helps you sleep better, helps you think better, regulates your mood better, and then it gives you an excuse to eat if you're not eating. Let's see. Limit your use of electronic devices or TV time. All of these things that they're listing, by the way, are things you should be doing whether COVID is a factor or not. Limit use of electronic devices or TV time. 100%. Keep the TV off until the end of the day, if that. Your phone, remove all apps that aren't necessary. And I'm sorry, but Instagram's not necessary. Twitter is not necessary. Snapchat is not necessary. If you use it to text people, it could be, I could see that it is necessary. But it's not necessary in the form of, if I don't have this, I can't contact people. Everybody that's you're contacting on Instagram has a phone. And other, they have a phone number. And if you're over 20, they definitely have a phone number. Get their phone number and stop. Just take the apps off. They're not worth your mental time to waste 3 hours a day scrolling Instagram. I just had to get rid of Instagram again because it was fueling not only my porn issues, but it was fueling it's just a desire to check my phone. Do you need games on your phone? No. Entertain yourself with a book, with writing, with reading, with going outside. Yes, video games can have a place, but let's be honest, they're often better on computers or an Xbox anyway. And then you have to limit those times anyway. But yeah, get rid of the apps on your phone that you don't need. And I mean directly need. Like for me, that would be Spotify, texting, of course, eBird, so I can report birds, because I am a birder. I should do an episode on birding just so people can. I could get my friend. Oh yeah, okay. Good. Moving on. an app to record bird songs and bird calls. And those are the apps that I think are necessary for me. It could be different for you, but Instagram is not necessary unless that's your job, in which case you might need a better job because we all know social media is not good for you. And I did an episode on that. Go to bed at the same time each night. I don't know why they didn't put these two together, but I'm kind of glad they didn't at the same time because they are kind of separate. It's like you start with one thing and you have to have goals and know what your goals are. My goal is to at least gain 1 pound a week. If not that, 1 pound every 2 weeks. How am I going to do that? Eat a crap ton of food, but I need structure to do that. And then once I get my food under control, then I pull in some exercise. So all of these things they've listed: wake up, shower, dress, eat meals, keep a daily schedule, limit your use of a daily schedule of exercise, limit use of electronic device or TV, go to bed at the same time each night. They're not just for COVID, okay? They are for everyday life so that your life can be lived to the fullest. Make sure you have a job too. I'm working on that. Once I recover from this slump I threw myself into, that's the next goal, is get a job so I can get a car and go zoom and go places. The world is unlocked when you have money and when you have a car. It's part of the reason why I'm 18 and I want to move out, because like I'm 18. A lot of people are like, well, you're 18, you got your whole life ahead of you. I do, but not unless I'm moving forward. All right, let's see what else this thing says. They also recommend, in addition to your regular routine, try including new activities that can become a healthy part of your daily routine. I was going to bring this up earlier, but they're 100% right. You need to fill your time with things that are relaxing, with things that are mentally stimulating, with things that teach you things, and I think that's where hobbies come in. If you don't have hobbies, you should really grab some. Mine include photography, birding, which is the buff version of bird watching. Are those all my hobbies? I used to draw a lot, but I just haven't done that because computers took up a lot of that time. I don't want to say video games because I really don't like that I play a lot of video games. Because my ideal life is I spend a lot of time with friends and family, doing my hobbies, going to work, doing things I enjoy doing, writing and reading, photography. And then maybe at the end of the day, the very end, I watch a movie or two, probably just one. Go to bed on time, between 10 and 11, get up, hope earlier than 7, maybe like 5 a.m. I would love to get up at 5 a.m. again. And then do the same thing, but with different variations during the day. And that, to me, that's an ideal life with like very, very limited use of technology. And maybe that's just me coming at it from a technology. I've seen technology screw up my life a lot. And I've seen it screw up other people's lives. Or maybe it's just me being biased against technology. I don't know. All I know is that's what I would love to see my life being. But it takes discipline and it takes creating a structure. So I think if you start with one thing at a time and work from there. Like right now it's sleep and food. Mainly food because that's really important, but sleep as well. And then I'll move on from there. You have to have goals, and they need to have short-term goals. And what I mean by that is you have to have a long-term goal. Like mine is to be mentally and physically healthy. That's great, but if you don't have a path to get to that, you're not going to make it, right? So you need short-term goals to get there. Like for me, it's eat food at these specific times for now, as structured as possible. Or start going to bed at this time and work from there. There are often things my dad says that I don't agree with, and I just straight up ignore him. But recently he said, actually yesterday, he said something along the lines of, because I was saying, I don't want to get off my computer at like 10 o'clock, if not earlier, because that's the only time my friends are on. You know, they work, they're in the evening, that's when they play. And especially since most of my friends are teenagers, so why wouldn't they stay up late and play video games? And we don't just play, we play and talk, and that's the best parts. And he said you need to get healthy physically and mentally before you can go and do things like that. And he's right. And friends are a major, major, major part of mental health. Hugely major. But they shouldn't take precedent. What I mean by that is you have to have everything in its rightful place. And if staying up until midnight or 11 o'clock at night is not healthy for me, then I need to put that in its rightful place. As much as it is hard to do, especially since I don't want to get off like League of Legends or Call of Duty or something like that at 9 o'clock in the evening, what's better, being mentally and physically healthy or having some short-term pleasure? The brain wants the short-term pleasure, but the mind, my logic mind, wants the health. And that's not a bad goal. In fact, everybody's goal should be as physically and mentally healthy as possible while still enjoying the life they're living. All right, let's see. Follow a routine that supports your health. Staying active and getting regular daily exercise, even if that's just I'm adding this part, even if that's just a 10-minute walk. It's recommended to get 90 minutes of sunlight every day, morning, afternoon, and evening, so that your body has a better sleep schedule. It's easier to go to sleep. If you get that early morning sunshine, that afternoon sunshine, that late evening sunshine. Let's be honest, we can all spare 90 minutes to get sunshine because you just exercise outside or meditate or do yoga. One of those things. Take your dog for a walk. I know right now, if you've got a dog, if you take him for a 30-minute walk, they're going to love you. Making sure that you're well rested. That falls into the sleep schedule. Eating healthy meals on a regular schedule. Yes, healthy is key. Healthy is different for everybody. Some people need more carbs than others. Some people need more protein than others. I've heard a lot of you need to eat your weight in protein. I think that could be true. Don't know. Don't take my word on it. I'm not a doctor. I personally do it anyway because I eat a lot of meat. If you eat a lot of meat, it helps you. If you eat a lot of protein, it helps you build that lean muscle, which allows you to look fit and not just look fat or unfit, even though you exercise a lot. Setting realistic goals. I just talked about that. Trying to stay positive. Yeah, that comes down to change in mindset. It's very hard. I had to learn that the hard way, and I'm relearning it again. It helps to practice gratitude. Just stop at the beginning of the day and at the end of the day, maybe in the middle of the day, whenever. It doesn't have to be structured. Just make sure you're doing it at least once a day, where you stop for 5 to 10 minutes, maybe, and then you just list a bunch of things you're grateful for. It changes your mindset. It calms you, relaxes you. And believe me, I'm the type of kid who's like, Mom doesn't know what she's talking about when she's talking about gratitude. She's a fool. She's one of the Christian idiots. And now here I'm at 18, fully Christian, and I'm like, ugh. The Bible tells us to be thankful. I'm like, how many times does the Bible tell us to be thankful? I know there's a specific number. 71 times in the New Testament and 102 times in the Old Testament. Holy cow. The concept of thanks comes up 102 times in the Old Testament, and the word is used 72 of those times. And this word, here's the definition: acknowledging what is right about God in praise and thanksgiving. Basically, your world may be terrible and it might suck, but there's always something in it that's right, and you need to be grateful for what's right and content with what's right. Otherwise, you'll be always focused on what's wrong, and if you chase what's wrong all the time, you're going to have mental stress 100% of the time, because you're not seeing what is good and what is calm and what is great and what is already there, and you don't need to chase after it. If you're always chasing, you're never at peace and at rest. And what happens? If a runner never stops running, what happens? They die. If your brain never stops running, it crashes. And then you will have mental burnout and then physical burnout. That's how the brain is designed. And I think that's part of the reason why God gave us one day at least. He said, you must rest on this 7th day. And it doesn't mean to be legalistic and say, Sunday is the day that I rest. Sunday is my Sabbath. Sunday is the day that I spend doing nothing. No, you have to pick one day out of your week to be still and to just be calm. To spend time doing things you enjoy, spend time with your family. A lot of people equivalent church with the Sabbath and thus with rest. I'm a bit more lenient on that. I'm going to be honest. I don't think Sunday has to be the day that you choose rest. I think Sunday is just the traditional day, and it's not a bad thing. A lot of churches hold their services on Sunday. But if you work on Sunday, it's no big deal. As long as you have one Sabbath that you choose to spend time with the Lord and then rest. That's the big thing. That's why it's taboo, is when you work 7 days a week, you're not getting any rest. And then you're going to burn out. God knows what he's talking about. There is a reason why there's the rest order. There's a reason why there's this very, very hefty laws about food, because those are the foods that were bad for people, and we know that today. So as much as it's counter, and it breaks my brain to say Sunday doesn't have to be your Sabbath, it doesn't. If you notice in Genesis, the words are second day, third day, evening, morning. There is no Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. He just says, and he rested. It just says, and he rested on the seventh day. So whatever your seventh day is, even if it's Monday, if it's Wednesday, if it's Friday, if it's Sunday, it doesn't mean you have to change from Sunday. Don't hear me say you have to change your Sabbath from Sunday. You need a rest day. Without a rest day, the brain decays. Let's see what else. Preparing for challenges, but not ruminating on things you can't control. How many of us do that? How many of us sit down and we think, this is a problem I've got to fix, and then we spend 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours just sitting there thinking and thinking. Maybe we're working and we're thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking, and we don't stop. We keep our brain on in second gear, and we just drive forward. There's a cliff, and it's a 120-foot drop into water, into a raging river, and we're like, I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to put this car in reverse either. I am just going to keep driving until kaboom. It really helps to take a chill pill. Lately, I like all day long I could be decent, and then evening hits and my brain goes wham, and I can't shut it up. And it makes it to the point so it's hard to eat, and I'm like, okay, so what do? I go out on the couch and I turn on some TV, turn on a movie. I just focus on that. 10 minutes later, my body's calm and I eat. So you have to find a way to calm your mind and go from there. Yes, it's hard, especially if you're in a more depressed state. It's very hard to control your thoughts, but it's doable. I did it in my worst of times, even if that was just laying on the floor, eyes shut, just focused on not thinking, which is kind of a bad thing. And then just if you can't not focus on that, you can't focus on like an empty space, then you focus on something else, something that's good, something that's wholesome, something that's holy. And this is literally, I'm just paraphrasing the verse in the Bible that says that this, to focus on and to dwell on things that are holy and righteous and before God and unblemished before God. And you know what? Whether you're a Christian or not, that's pretty darn good, because the things that are holy and unblemished before God tend to be the things that make our lives better. Like if you're sitting there thinking about the joy of a kid, or that great party you just threw for the 90-year-old grandmother the other day, that's a really great thing. Let's be completely honest. That is an incredibly awesome thing, and there's nothing wrong with focusing on that. Find a solution to the problem. Do not hyper-focus on it. Staying in touch with friends and family. Once again, this is coming from a COVID-19 perspective, but it's the same deal. You need friends, you need family. I touched on it earlier. If you don't have friends and family, you're not going to do it. You're not going to make life to the best of your ability. Without support, you're not going to go anywhere. Look at a bridge. They're huge. They're grandiose. They're beautiful. Some are completely ugly and run down and broken. But the ones that are well made, what do they have? Thousands of supporting pieces. Bolts, nuts, struts, trusses? I don't even think that's the right word there. Aren't those like the things that trains use? Trusses. Not trusses. Not trees. Not trees. Terrace? Okay, Google is mentally screwed up. We already knew this. Anyway, moving on. Setting aside time for activities that you enjoy. That's hobbies. Activities that you enjoy is the definition of hobby. Is it though? It's my definition. I don't want hobby lobby. An activity done regularly in one's leisure time for pleasure. Okay, I was right. Okay, they literally just described hobbies, but they said it in a way that won't scare people off by saying hobbies. Apparently, there are a few people out there who just don't have hobbies, and it hurts them to their core when people ask, what's your hobbies? So, for activities that you enjoy, find some. Go learn something. Maybe you like singing. Take up choir. Go be in your town's musical. Find something you enjoy. We all have passions and gifts, and then pursue it as far as you can without hurting yourself or others. Let's see. Make your list. One helpful activity is to make a list of things that you normally do during the day. This is still coming from a COVID perspective and a mental health perspective. It's like you have depression or COVID-19 screwed up your schedule, therefore do these things. So for those with depression, yes, it's 100% very useful to have a list. And for other people who are healthy, it's still helpful to have a list. So you can go check. I'm done what I need to do. Relax time. While it's important to get the essentials done, be sure to find things that you can look forward to, whether it's watching a favorite television show or calling up a friend. Making these little rewards a part of your routine can help you stay upbeat and focused when you're working on a task that you might not enjoy. Yeah, exactly. I can't agree more. We need rewards for people who are mentally challenged, or as the community itself uses the word, I'm going to say it, retarded. They offer rewards so that they have incentive to do the work. And that's key. Why do people work? So they can get money. Although, to be fair, there's an innate desire in people to work, and it cannot be denied. Unless the government is incentivizing people to not work. Or if you're a millennial. I'm sorry, but millennials get a lot of trash for good reason. They raised a crappy generation, and they also raised themselves horribly. Well, you can always tie something back to someone else's fault, but it's their fault. When we don't feel motivated to do things, it is very easy to procrastinate doing them, and they will continue to get pushed for the next day and the next day. That's a quote from Rachel Goldman, PhD. Yeah, that's 100% true. It's why high schoolers procrastinate. We don't feel motivated to do our paper when we have something else to do. That's when discipline, the rubber meets the The rubber meets the road. With discipline is when you have something to do that you don't want to do, but you know you have to get done. And you're just like, I know it has to be done. I have to do those dishes. I have to clean the car. I have to sweep the floor. I have to go to work. You don't procrastinate going to work anyway, because you'll get fired. But the other things, what's the outcome? You have dirty dishes, so you can't eat meals. You have a dirty car, so you don't feel good about your car. You have a dirty floor, so when you walk on it barefoot, all you feel is crumbs and sticky stuff, right? So those are smaller things, but they're vital to keeping a life together. So don't procrastinate. It's once again, with discipline, the rubber meets the road. And if you have a schedule for those things, you have to do them. For me, that's why I'm going to schedule school in, because I hate school, and I hate it because I enjoy reading and learning, but there are other things I'd rather do with my time, like play video games, which I have to find a replacement for. Remember, it takes time and practice. This is one I have to remind myself of all the time. I have a very hard time with reminding myself that change doesn't happen overnight. It happens over time and with consistency. I'm not going to become good at birding if I go birding once every month, which, albeit, is better than once a year, but it's not that good. You're not going to be a great singer if you don't practice every day to every other day. You aren't going to gain weight or lose weight if you only go to the gym once a week and eat crappy food 6 days out of the week, right? It takes consistency to make progress. Just like trying to create a new habit, starting and sticking to a new routine takes some time and effort. You know yourself best, so if something doesn't seem to be working, try tweaking your schedule to make it work for your needs. Okay, the only thing I'm going to say here is I think there's a lot of leniency and leeway for people who just can't seem to get it. And sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes you need to put your head down and go through that brick wall, because if you try to go around it, you're just never going to make it to your goal. It's like if you go left, it's 100 miles of concrete. If you go right, it's 100 miles of steel. What's your option? Go through the brick wall or stay stuck, which is where I'm at, and I hate it. But like literally for the first 3 days of this, I don't want to say mental breakdown. For lack of a better word, mental breakdown. What was I seeing a lot of? Literally every time. I wasn't even searching for this stuff. It wasn't like I was like, I'm depressed, I need to search for motivational crap. Because I've come to have the feeling and belief that if you base everything off motivational videos, you're never going to get anything done. And they're not really worth the time. Maybe to get you jump started on something, but not really worth the time. But one person on Instagram was constantly posting in their story things like, the only way to get to something is to go through, not around. There's no alternative method. And in my life, let's look at it. Food. I need to eat more. What are the options? A feeding tube, which is not long term, and that's a signal of I gave up. Because right now, I definitely can get the food. It's not like I'm starving and vomiting. I'm just not a fan of eating, even though I want to gain weight, right? So that's the give up method. That's it. Oh, I'm done fighting. I give up. Put a feeding tube in me. I am not doing this anymore. That's not an option for me. I don't like giving up. Scares me. The idea of giving up scares the crap out of me. I wonder what the science behind that is. What's another option? Don't eat and hope it gets better? Well, that's clearly not worked, right? I mean, that's why I'm in this mess in the first place. And that's it. The option that's going to work is the option that goes through, and that's eating for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks on a very rigorous schedule, and then continuing that afterwards. But not focusing on, you need to focus on today. That's another thing. Don't focus on, I got to do it. I got to do it every day for the next 3 weeks. Yes, you do. But focus on today. Focus on this meal. Focus on this exercise. Focus on this job. Focus on this next step before, because you're not going to get to the other ones unless you accomplish this. And if you focus on everything else, you're going to want to give up. If you focus on that home stretch, you're going to be exhausted and tired. But if you focus on the ground, the very ground right in front of you, watching each step as you're walking or running, next thing you know, you're at the finish line. Because why? Not because time flew faster or you went faster. You might have gone faster. You might have gone slower. I don't know. Why? Because you didn't focus on the end. You focused on what needed to be done now. And then if you focus on that, you're going to make it there. Goldman recommends paying attention to how you feel throughout the day in order to determine what times a day you are the most productive. If you feel like each day you feel unmotivated and lethargic at a certain time, then that is a sign you may need a mental break at that time. Yes and no. Jock Willink said something recently in a podcast. Was it recently? It might have been like a 2-3-year-old podcast. He said, push through it anyway. If you're tired, go exercise. If you're exhausted, go exercise. If the next day you still feel the same way, if you still feel the same way after, then take a break. But if you feel better, more energetic, happier, accomplished, then you know it's just your body trying to get you to quit and you need to keep going. So similarly, in this, yeah, there are times a day when our brains just aren't at their best. For some people, that's in the middle of the day. For some people, that's in the morning. Some people, that's in the evening. Some people, that's late at night. If it's late at night, then you're probably not a night owl and you should be in bed anyway. I know a lot of people in the acting industry and the business industry stay up to ungodly hours and get up at ungodly hours. I don't think that's going to work long term for normal people. However, you do need to pay attention to your body. If you're finding that day in and day out, there's one time during the day, even if it's like a 5-hour slot, where you're just dead, then that's the time you do the easier things. You do the harder things during the times when it's easier for you to focus and all that jazz. When you find yourself in these moments, think about what you might need to feel better and get motivated. No. Motivation's a feeling. It's fleeting. Emotions are fleeting. Why do I keep mixing up feeling and fleeting? That is sad. Fleeting and feeling. You're just throwing in a T and rearranging the L. Ugh. English language is weird. Anyway, feelings are fleeting. And if a feeling is fleeting, then why would you focus on trying to get it back? I get it. You want to be motivated when you do something. You're going to be doing that something and halfway through, you're not going to be motivated anymore. You need to have discipline and structure to get through something. There have been times I was laying on the couch for 2-3 hours. I'm like, oh, I got to get up. I don't want to get up. And then I just steel my nerves, steel my body, steel my mind, and I get off the couch and I go do what I need to do. That's not motivation. That's not any feeling. That's screw it, man. If I don't do this, I'm going to feel terrible. I need to get it done. Let's do it. I'll feel better afterwards. And that's like 8% of the time I do that. Why did I say 8? That's a very odd number. The rest of the times I was like, ugh. Well, actually, maybe if I examine it a bit closer, I may take 3 hours to do it, but I do it even when I'm not motivated. That's another thing. Take some time to find an objective way to look at yourself through the lens of others and not through the lens of yourself. Because if you look at it through yourself, you're going to see yourself as a failure always, because all you see are the things you mess up at. But other people, what they see is they see, you accomplished X, Y, and Z today. Congratulations. So look at yourself like that. I guess that's another good reason to have a list. Because if you have a list, you go, check, 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 and you can look at it and be like, I feel like I didn't accomplish anything today. And because your list, you're like, oh, never mind. Yes, I did. I could take a 5-minute, 20-minute break. I think that could be very helpful. Structure your day to make the most of the natural ebb and flow of your energy levels. You'll get more done and ensure that you're getting what you need in terms of rest and relaxation. Yeah, 100%. And then this quote right here, I think is key. My mom has told me it for years. I blew her off, and she's right. I like to have things, when I say I'm going to do something, I'm locked in. You're not locked in unless it's a contract. Plans don't always go as planned, though, so remember to be kind to yourself, says Goldman. Exactly. Some days your schedule is not going to work, and that's fine. But don't fall off the bandwagon when that happens. This is not the time to put extra pressure or expectation on yourself. It's not easy to create new routines or add structure to a day when our lives are completely disrupted and turned upside down. So it may take some time to get used to this new routine and be able to feel accomplished. 100%. Be flexible. You're going to have trouble. Have help. Have friends. Have hobbies. Have reward. You're going to need it. There's a Journal of Globe Health study by Wakaihu, Francisco Titiala, Manachim Ben Ezra, and Robin Goodwin. That's the only good name. Wait. Not a good name. The only English name that's easy to pronounce. It's on the articles beside other articles in the PMC, regularizing daily routines for mental health during and after the COVID-19 pandemic. I like that they stressed after, because not stressed. I like that they said after, because after means, oh, I can't wait to do this. Hang on, real fast. Quick side note. Mental health considerations for children quarantined because of COVID-19. The coronavirus stress, a reality check of India's mental health social agenda. Screw that one. Ensuring mental health care during the SARS-CoV-2 epidemic in France. Reflections about the impact of the SARS-CoV-2/COVID-19 pandemic on mental health. I need to read these. That's my next week. That's what I want to go over, is how bad COVID has been for mental health and how screwed up it's made the economy and the world, specifically mental health and physical health, for the next probably decade at least. Okay, I'm going to save these articles. Oh, I can't wait to read them. Anyway, back on this. Let's go over this real fast. This is interesting. These changes in major life domains resemble the functional impairment consequential to mental disorders such as depression and place a large number of people at a greater risk of poor mental health. This is referencing the lack of school, the lockdowns, cutting out our work, and causing stress and chronic stress and trauma because of we're worried about the COVID-19 virus. Livelihoods are being screwed up, mobility, reduced people interactions, and no education for our kids. Those are all terrible things, and they should never have happened. But they did happen, and so let's move forward from here, right? Regularized routines such as those offered above can buffer the adverse impact of stress exposure on mental health, but it's unclear how this message can best be conveyed. Very good point, and I think we could start with, let's just hit this first before I go back. I think it's vitally important that actors, I hate how much influence they have, but they better use their influence for good. So I think actors, celebrities, artists, presidents, mayors, and governors, don't make it a mandate. Don't make it a law. Don't make it that. Show yourselves living a lifestyle worthy of a healthy living style, and then broadcast that so that people look at you and they don't see a hypocrite. They see somebody living a good life and saying, this life is good. Thousands of us are doing it. Hundreds of thousands of us. And the science backs it up. Go live this life, man. It's going to look different for you, but you've got to do it. It's part of the reason why I do this podcast, is because I know things that a lot of people don't really recognize. And while I'm not implementing the best into my life, I'm brutally honest with you guys. And I'm brutally honest about the truth. And I go, here, listen to it. I've only had 60 downloads. That's not a lot of people, right? Divide that by 3. That's 20 people at most, right? That's cool. I'm fine with that. 20 people who may or may not know me. I think at least half of them know me, though. 20 people may or may not know me or hearing this message. Maybe not all the way through, but that's what I want. I want this to reach the masses, and that's why I want to have other people from other podcasts on here so I can reach more people. Yes, a part of me wants to get famous from doing this, but I'd rather it reach people than me get famous. Honestly, I'd rather help people than be famous. As much as that's hard for me to say, I would rather help people. So back to this. What? Okay, here we go. The WHO suggests regular activities for children confined at home and new routines for vulnerable adults, including those who are older and or with chronic health conditions. That's not helpful. You need specifics. First, it is important to recognize that daily routines are likely to differ in their impact on mental health. Primary routines, there's 2 different types according to this article. Primary routines are behaviors necessary for maintaining livelihood and biological needs such as hygiene, sleep, and eating, which then, I can tell you right now, 100% affects your mental health. Secondary routines reflect individual circumstances and motivations and preferences, including exercising, leisure and social activities, and practices associated with work or study, including keeping oneself on time and meeting goals and targets. Frick the motivation part and move on. I'm tired of people stressing motivation. Yes, if you live a healthy and happy life to the best of your ability, motivation is easier to come by, but it's not what you should be relying on. I hate the stress on motivation. Go with freaking discipline, please. It's more important that you can get up off the couch on a day where you're tired and lethargic and get shit done than it is for you to have the motivation to get up and do that, because it's a feeling. It's not going to come if you're tired and lethargic, which basically mean the same thing, and weak. It's not going to come. You have to go from a deeper source, and that's discipline, because that's a structure. It's all tied together and goes from there. It's all tied. It's all tightened. It's a pulley system. Discipline helps you, but you have to build it up. Okay, I apologize for the swear word there. I got a little heated. During a pandemic, some routines are disrupted as a result of stress, while the disruptions result from economic factors, work. Okay, primary and secondary daily routines can be usefully consolidated and replaced, while new routines can be added. Exactly. It helps to have some predictability and controllability over your life, especially when the government could shut you down tomorrow and then open you up in 2 days. All right, prompt dissemination of these guidelines could be implemented through traditional broadcast media, print, radio, and television, and digital media, including websites and social media platforms. These guidelines can be further strengthened face-to-face by a national team of trained community health workers who are young, less susceptible to COVID-19, and in need of employment opportunities due to the economic downturn. Sign me up. If this is a thing, sign me up. I would love to spread awareness and help people get their lives on track. Alternative nationwide volunteer schemes such as the UK's Good Sam scheme provide useful personnel. These guidelines could also be strengthened as part of a health promotion strategy for disadvantaged groups such as older adults living alone and low-wage essential workers who, through their continuous interactions with a range of others, are more vulnerable to infection. I don't care. Okay, if you're old, stay home. I get it. But if you're 30 years old and younger and you're fit and healthy, if you're like 10 pounds overweight, you're a bit more at risk. But if you're like fit and healthy, you have nothing to worry about. You're not going to die. And if you do die, I'm sorry, it's a tragedy, but the world doesn't need to be shut down for your death. And I'm going to get a lot of flack for that, I think. This wasn't very helpful. Mass education on specialist care can be fruitfully recalibrated to emphasize the sustainment of regular daily routines to ensure positive mental health during and after a pandemic. We're going to have to figure this out. I want to figure out, how do we spread this awareness? Because I don't have a voice. It's locked up by conglomerates and celebrities who have 200 million followers, 20 million followers, 30 million followers, and I have 50, and I have 70, and I speak to 20 people a week. So I think what needs to happen is these ideas need to be spread by the big voices, or I just need to get famous so I can spread these. One or the other. I'd rather have the famous one, but as long as people get the news, I really care more about that. And once again, that hurts to say. I'm not lying when I say I freaking want to be famous, man. And have a place in the world where my voice can be heard. But I would really rather, and this hurts, I would really rather people get the help and the knowledge than me being famous. Moving on to the mental health benefits of having a daily routine by Brad Prenner, PhD. Okay. Working, cleaning, and cooking, working out, and take care of other family members are just a few of the things that we do every day, and it's easy to feel overwhelmed. It can feel impossible to mark everything off your to-do list, especially if you're struggling with a mental health condition like major depression, substance use disorder, or traumatic stress disorder. Was it TSD? Is it not post-traumatic stress disorder? Is it traumatic stress disorder? What's the difference? By establishing a daily routine, we can set aside time to take care of tasks and focus on our mental and physical health. Routines are essential at every stage of life, from childhood and adolescence to adulthood. They help us cope with change, create healthy habits, improve interpersonal relationships, and reduce stress. Studies have shown that daily routines have far-reaching mental benefits, from alleviating bipolar disorder and preventing substance abuse to managing the symptoms of other mental disorders. It takes 21 days to form a new habit, and the same goes for a routine. If you set and stick to a new plan for 3 weeks, there's a good chance you'll stick to that routine for a long time. When it comes to mental health, here's how a daily routine can make a significant difference. So it laid out the few things that can definitely be changed and make better. No, not changed, made better by having a routine. And it laid out, hey, this is how long it's going to frickin' take you to get there. With pornography, it takes about 21 days before you can get over the hump. And then there's a cycle, and that cycle goes longer and longer and longer. I've never made it past 15. I will. I'm going to make it. Today's day 2. Here we go. Routines help alleviate anxiety. It's essential to sit down, identify what's worrying you, and address your concerns. When we create daily routines through exercising or changing our sleeping patterns, this allows our body to adjust and know what to expect. And I'm going to add a point here. Even if it does that, if you exercise, you're going to be happier and have less anxiety anyway. Or be better able to cope with it because your brain's going to be stronger. And if you sleep well, I've gone over this so many times, and everybody ignores it. Not everybody, but most people. The same goes for mental routines. Creating predictable scenarios through habits allows our mind to adjust, understand what to expect, and alleviate anxiety over the unknown. Journaling is a great way to establish a regular schedule, especially for those struggling with the symptoms of anxiety disorder. Journaling at the same time every day can help you start a process or routine of mental restoration and wellness. What do we journal? Please specify that. For people with busy schedules, daily plans can promote healthy lifestyle habits. Simple changes like packing your lunch before work can help you create a more balanced diet while going to bed on the same time every night can promote a consistent sleep schedule. Once again, I went over this. Additionally, set aside time to focus on your physical health. You don't need to spend hours in the gym every day to enjoy the benefits of exercising. If you're short on time, scheduling a few minutes of high-intensity interval training, HIIT, can boost your self-esteem, improve your mood, and provide numerous health benefits, and links to another article, according to the National Institute of Mental Health. Wait. I should do an episode on physical health, and not physical exercise, and what that does for your mental health. Oh, I get another friend on for that. Oh, yes. What if I could get an expert, too? For parents, establishing healthy family routines can help young people adapt to the new realities of working from home, homeschooling, and temporary unemployment. Once again, this is coming from a COVID-19 perspective, but all right, this article. Oh, physical activity may reduce depression symptoms. Come back next time for the episode on physical activity and how it drastically reduces your depression symptoms. I threw drastically in there to make it sound good, but I think it's true. All right, routines help combat burnout. According to a national survey on behavioral health, 1/3 of adults in the United States experienced extreme stress within the past year. Yes. While nearly half of adults believe their stress levels increased over the past year. Yes. The gradual accumulation of stress leads to burnout. Yes. Which can cause mental and emotional exhaustion. Yes. Poor interpersonal relationships and loss of productivity at work. Burnout can lead to serious health conditions and mental health issues over time. No matter how busy you are, there are different ways to prevent and combat burnout. If you're on the road to burnout, try making the following changes to your daily schedule. Stick to a morning routine. There's another link. Avoid hitting the snooze button. The discipline one comes in. Don't hit the snooze button and roll out of bed. It takes some actual physical strength to do that. Like you literally have to, it's like grasping onto something and yanking yourself out of bed. Not like grabbing the bar and going, yanky. But you literally, it's almost like you're doing push-ups when you push yourself out of bed. Yeah, it's how drastic it is to take the mental strength that it takes to get out of bed some mornings, even without depression. It's a proven fact. Schedule time to be alone. Make sure that scheduled time to be alone, I'd say, is not all the time. What I mean by that is you're really going to need some alone time, but you need people time a lot more. If you're an introvert, I get it. You need more alone time than someone like I, who's an ambivert, leaning more towards. I've got introvert and extrovert tendencies, but I think I'm a bit more extroverted than I used to admit. So I get it. If you're like one of my siblings, yes, you need more alone time. Whereas for me, like she would go into a party and be exhausted. I go into a party, I'm stressed and I'm anxious. Oh, but I come out so hyper and not exhausted, but happy and awake, and I'm ready to take on the world. And when I talk to my friends, or when I had that conversation with Ben last week, I just wanted to keep talking. I love talking. I love my voice. I love hearing other people talk. I love talking more. I need to work on that. You need to know what you need people-wise, is what I'm trying to say. And don't fool yourself being like, I'm an introvert, and I don't need people, and ignore the facts. Like I did. It took a massive mental breakdown before I could see that I needed people a lot more than what I said I needed. Take periodical breaks throughout the day. Actually, it's recommended to do one such recommendation for doing schoolwork is do 25 minutes on, 5 minutes off, and then it's my friend knows it a bit better than I do, but it's the rough gist of it. You probably find it somewhere. This article's on New Therapy Group of New York City, or NewYorkCityTherapy.com. Take note of one important thing you're grateful for. Yes, finally, somebody is mentioning gratitude. It changed the way I look at things, and yes, I feel like I'm talking right now, and it sounds like I'm in a good place. I'm not in a bad place, but there's work to be done, and I'm not in a place that somebody works out regularly and all that fun stuff. But yeah, stop work at the same time every day. Yep, we are people. We need routine and schedule. Work from 9 to 5, work from whatever. Just don't stop at random times. It really screws with your body and how everything works. How to create a healthy routine. Oh, finally, I do realize that I was talking about all these things that make a good routine, but never how to create one. Changing your daily routine all at once usually doesn't lead to long-term results. Instead, pick a few small things each week to work on. You might choose to cut out a bad habit like spending too much time on social media, or to add something new and positive like spending more time with family members. Making changes to your daily life can be hard, and you might forget to follow your routine every once in a while. You don't have to be perfect. If you miss a day, try to do better the next day. I think that goes back to compare yourself to who you were yesterday, or compare yourself to who you were an hour ago. Because an hour ago, you might have been great, or odds are you sucked. Really, odds are there's something you failed at that you can do better at. And not to take it too far, don't be like, oh, I need to do better than yesterday. I did 3,000 push-ups yesterday. 4,000, here we go. No. The goal is to do one step better. You did 5 push-ups yesterday, do 5 today. That's consistency. That's one step better than yesterday. If you can do more, do 6, do 7. It's a gradual building. I'm not a bodybuilder. I don't know much about physical activity, but I do know you don't go from 5 to 30 without some serious consequences. Daily routines and mental illness. While routines can improve your mental health and provide wide-reaching psychological benefits, from alleviating symptoms of mental disorders to managing insomnia, they aren't a cure-all for mental health issues. In addition to creating routine, individuals experience mental health and should explore other treatment with therapy, support groups, educational resources, or helplines. Yeah, I don't disagree with things like that. I'm glad they didn't mention medicine, actually. I say that because I don't trust medicine based on what they've done to me, what I've seen happen to other people. So yeah, there we have it. And there's that physical activity one, the power of a morning routine. Okay, let's read this real fast. See where we go from here. It's early, you don't want to move, let alone get up and start the day. Real fast, this is from NAMI.org blogs. I don't trust blogs too much, but it's NAMI Alliance. NAMI Alliance on mental health by Luna Greenstein. This is the article, The Power of Morning Routine by Luna Greenstein on August 9th, 2017. It's early, you don't want to move, let alone get up and start the day. You feel drained, you're cozy, all wrapped up in blankets. Thoughts about all that time you should accomplish today floods your mind. You feel overwhelmed, so you hit snooze one more time. Uh-oh, now you've overslept. You're running late. Time to get up and rush into the day. Sound familiar? Mornings are hard, right? Actually, mornings aren't definitely hard. They can be made easier. Definitively, that's the word. The key to an easier morning is to keep your first waking hour as consistent as possible throughout the weeks. I can't say if that's the only key or not, but it sounds right. The more we struggle to make decisions, the more energy we deplete. When first starting the day, it's important to avoid decision fatigue by having a set morning routine. Having a morning routine can increase your energy, productivity, and positivity. It also generates momentum and building up the brain's peak time for cognitive work, late morning. Here are a few suggestions to include in your morning routine. Ease into the day. It's easier to lull yourself out of sleep when you're not rushing into the day. You'll feel more motivated to open your eyes and let your body properly wake up when you have a little bit of time to lounge in bed without jumping up. After a few minutes of lounging, follow these steps. Open your curtains, let the natural light energize you. Exposing yourself to sunlight in the morning can improve your alertness and energy during the day. Put on some upbeat tunes. Music lights up the entire brain. Do some light stretching to get your blood flowing. These small things can help you start the day in a positive mood rather than feeling stressed to get up and out the door. Eat breakfast. Research shows that those who eat breakfast have more energy than those who wait until lunch to eat. While coffee can help jolt you awake, your body will eventually crash without food. You don't need to feast first thing in the morning. A healthy snack and lots of water is all that's needed to start the day off right. Read. There are many ways to stimulate your brain, but one of the most recommended methods is reading. Reading a book in the morning can start your day in a richly detailed story, or narrative as opposed to a stressful, overflowing to-do list. Reading is considered a mental break because the brain is only focused on doing one thing rather than the usual 8 things. You can't multitask while reading a book, and what you're focused on causes you to think. Use your imagination and create your own visual imagery. It's this type of focus that gets our minds more nimble and creative. As the saying goes, reading is to the mind what exercise is to the body, except we know that's now partially untrue because exercise is to the body what reading is to the mind. Well, no, exercise is to the mind what exercise is to the body. It's kind of equal. Stimulate your body. Speaking of, you should also exercise in the morning. Exercise increases production of the neurotransmitters, serotonin and norepinephrine, which enhances the body's ability to deal with stressors and creates a post-workout feeling of bliss. Research shows that you're more creative and productive for the 2 hours following exercise. It also shows that people who exercise regularly are less stressed at work and more able to maintain a work-life balance. Begin with a proactive mindset. Psychologist Ron Friedman explains in an interview with Harvard Business Review that our usual start to the workday, checking email, answering questions, or listening to voicemails, says cognitively expensive. Starting the day this way puts you into a reactive mindset, while switching from a proactive mindset to a reactive mindset is easy. The verse is more challenging. Instead, he suggests starting the workday with a brief planning session. Strategize first, execute second. Using these tips, here's an example of what a healthy morning routine could look like. 6:55 to 7 a.m. Slowly wake up, open your eyes. 7 to 7:15, open the curtains, put on energizing music, and do some light stretching. 7:15 to 7:30, eat some fruit and almonds for breakfast. Do not mix fruit with almonds. You have a hard time digesting those almonds. Read and drink tea or water to get the mind stimulated and ready and the body hydrated from 7:30 to 8. 8 to 8:30, shower and don't forget to sing and get ready for work. Actually, singing really makes the body feel good, so if you don't sing, try it. 8:30 to 9, walk to work to get into moderate exercise if you can. If you don't live 30 minutes by car from work, then walk to work. 9 to 9:15, begin work with a planning session to strategize your day. Yeah, it takes about 2 hours from when you wake up but I think it's worth it. Get up on time, get up earlier is often better. I think Benjamin Franklin, when he said early to bed, early to rise, makes your body healthy and wise or happy and wise? Either way, that's right. So to finalize, it really helps to have a consistent wake-up schedule, go-to-bed schedule. It really helps to have consistent meals. It really helps to have consistent exercise, daily exercise, even if it's just walking or light stretching. It really helps to have consistent hydration, which you shouldn't drink water with your meals. That makes it so you eat less. Shower. Really helpful to shower every other day, because if you shower every day, you're stripping essential nutrients and bacteria, not nutrients, bacteria from your body. Limit the use of your electronic devices or TV time. Dress every single day. I don't care if you're going to work or not. If you're sick, that's a different story, but if you're not going to work, still get dressed. Continue your day. Find what works for you. Figure out when is the best time to do the hardest work and the best time to do the easiest work, or the relaxation time. Get some hobbies that you enjoy. Try to stay positive. These are a lot of things, but you break them down one step at a time. Have goals, realistic goals. The goal is to get to the top of Mount Everest, but you got to get to each camp first. Make sure you're spending time with friends and family. And then I would add, make sure you have time in the morning for God, because it really helps set the precedent for the day. If you're spending time focusing on who God is, how great he is, how much he's done for you, and what your mission is with him, and that's, to honor and glorify him in everything you do, which entails, literally, the Bible commands us to take care of ourselves physically and mentally so that we can take care of other people. And that's the best way to, if you're fat, you're 340 pounds because you choose not to take care of yourself, not because of anything else, but it's your choice. How much honor and glory does that bring to God? So the power of a routine for mental health and making your life better as a whole is astronomically high. I highly recommend doing it. I'm starting on this path again. You're going to fall off the bandwagon. I can tell you that right now. You're going to fall off. Pick yourself up again and keep going. Have a support group around you, friends and family who are going to support you and help you get there. And then just take it one step at a time. Remember, discipline is better than motivation. Motivation is a feeling. It's fleeting. It will go. Discipline, once instilled, is a lot harder to break. It takes a time, but you can do it. And before we go, I don't normally do this, but if you find me on iTunes at Wandering Thoughts Podcast, or just Wandering Thoughts, actually, anywhere that you can rate this, it's on YouTube at Wandering Thoughts, it's on Spotify at Wandering Thoughts. If you can rate this, whether it's Pandora or iTunes, can you rate on Pandora? I don't know, but iTunes, Apple Music, Apple Podcast. It's not music, it's Apple Podcast. On Apple Podcasts and iTunes, if you're listening there, please leave me a rate, a like, whatever, a nice review or a critical review so that I can read it. I will greatly appreciate it, because that's how the word gets spread. And like I said, I want people to hear these things. I'm on Instagram and I'm on Twitter. I'll leave those links on YouTube and whatnot. It's Taros_Toron. It's Elvish. Just type it in how it sounds. Maybe you'll figure it out. Both Twitter and Instagram. And I have an Instagram for Wandering Thoughts Podcast. So until next time, I'm your host, Joseph Samiera Jr., and take care.